Ignore the red curtain, I'm changing it next month, I swear to God. So, Scream 6, we went to watch it yesterday. I think it blew all my expectations out of the water. Starting off, it gets off with, so like, the obvious, like, this professor's like waiting in a bar to meet up with one. I don't know if she knows it's one of her students, but she's meeting up with a guy, and it turns out to be one of her students. And then he kills her in Ghostface fashion. But then they reveal him, like, he takes off his mask, and I'm just like, okay, there is no way I'm going to predict what's going to go on in this movie. Just from the get-go, I was just like, okay, maybe I'm going to be surprised at a couple things. When he gets home, he gets a call from his roommate, who is his, like, he's going to be his second Ghostface, and they're trying to recreate, well, they're trying to finish the movie that Richie was making in Scream 5, which is very interesting. There are a lot of connections that go back to Richie, and we'll speak about that at the end. So, I think it's Jason. Jason gets a call from his roommate, who I don't remember the name of. Allegedly it was Greg, but we don't believe Scott. So he gets a phone call from him, and he's just like, where are you? And he was like, come find me, let's play Horror or Colder. And then he, like, Ghostface is like getting him to go to the fridge, and it's so fucking hilarious. And I was like, nah, his head's gonna be in there. But his, like, mangled torso and everything, all his innards. So his mangled corpse was in the fridge. Did not expect that. I just thought it was going to be his head. I didn't expect this movie to be as gruesome as it was. They've really upped, like, the gore factor. I don't know if that's a comment on anything, because movies are getting gorier as we get older. It's just a thing. We're desensitized to it now. Like all the characters in Scream, they're so used to murder and crime. They just get away with it so often. After Ghostface kills Jason and plants the mask of, what's her name? Of Jill and her accomplice. So it was Richie and insert girl here. So it was them. Their masks were, like, put in the crime scene. And then, like, no one makes the connection right there, and then they're like, isn't this supposed to be police evidence? Maybe we should call someone in. Which they don't. But you'll see why later. It all comes back down to Richie. So then we, like, cut off to the sisters. They're in, like, so they've moved to New York. Tara, who's the older sister? Sam. Sam's moved to New York with Tara because Tara's gone to, like, college. And obviously, Sam's, like, what, nearly 30 now? So she's just got an apartment, she's working 2 jobs. Just to make sure that Tara's fine. Because Sam's going to therapy, but it's not exactly working. She point blank tells her, like, therapist that she likes murdering people. And she expected him to be fine with that. It was fucking hilarious. So they're at a frat party, someone tries to take Sam upstairs, everyone's trying to stop him, and then fucking Sam just, like, just turns up and tases him in the dick. And I loved it. Kirby turns up, we all knew, we watched the trailers. It was nothing special. She's very funny in this movie. Like, everyone hates Gail in this movie. She said in Scream 5 she wasn't going to make a book, and she made a book. Sam tries to punch her, and it was a whole thing, and no. Yeah, Sam tried to punch her, she dodged it, and she was like, this ain't my first rodeo, and then fucking Tara decks her. And then Kirby hates her. I don't know if I don't know if Gail wrote a book about Scream 4. Possibly she did. I can't remember. I don't think it's mentioned in Scream 5, so I don't think she did, but Gail always writes a book. A couple people are killed off, and it's just like, okay, throwaway characters, I really don't care. Like, so Sam and Tara have this roommate, she's killed off. Her boyfriend is killed. Then they try to escape to the apartment across the road via ladder. And what's her face?
Mandy.
Yeah, Mandy's girlfriend gets killed, which didn't care for her. Throwaway characters at this point. Never trust a new character in Scream. And then they all suspect Chad's roommate, which... so, like, Mandy sits them all down and she's like, it's going to be the least likely person out of all of us. So she points at Chad's roommate and she was like, it's going to be you. And then she's like, it could be my girlfriend, though. And then it could be the slutty roommate. So she was like, it could be any of us. Yeah, so she turns around and says that if the three of us are suspects, the four of you are too. Excellent deflection. We'll see why later. Let's go to Gail's kill scene. So the group have a plan to pull Ghostface out because Kirby's joined the FBI. She's learned how to track phones in under 15 seconds. So they believe if they get Ghostface to call them while they're out in public, he's going to be stood. He's going to be out in public with them. And Mandy says how ironic this is because they're sat in a van tracking a ghost face, which is exactly how her uncle died. So, I love the Randy, like, shout outs. He didn't get enough screen time. He should have survived until Scream 3. But yeah. But then they track the phone and he's in Gail's apartment. She is almost brutally murdered. She survives though, which I'm glad. After Gail almost dies, they decide to get Ghostface to go to a defendable location, which earlier in the movie they find the theatre that has been dedicated to the 5 other movies. So, like, it's been dedicated to the 9 other Ghostfaces. Yeah. Including the 2 Ghostface from the start of the movie. So it's Richie and the girl from 5. It's Jill and her male accomplice. Sydney's brother, Billy's mum and her accomplice, and then Billy and Stu. Oh, so it doesn't include the 2 people from the start of the movie. So it's just the 9 confirmed ghost faces. And then, so yeah, they find that, Jill finds it, and they're like, they're going through everything, and it was honestly very tearjerking. I did cry a little bit when I saw the little, like, section that was dedicated to, Dewey. So yeah, I cried a little bit when I saw the Dewey shrine. But it was honestly, like, seeing it all in one place was really, like, amazing. So they decide to trap the killer in the theatre so they can hunt him down altogether. And then Kirby goes off. And then, like, Sam's on the phone. She's trying to phone Mandy. And Mandy won't, like, pick up the phone. Because, as we previously just saw, she's been murked. But she suspects it's still Chad's roommate. So she's, like, on the train with him, but she's standing, like, quite far away from him. and then a ghost face pops up and like stabs her and up like pulls her up with blade, but somehow she survives. Some people in Scream just have supernatural healing abilities. Like, later on, we'll find out the killer gets stabbed through the mouth, twisted. He bleeds out and falls to the ground. And then, like, 5 minutes later, he's up, chasing everyone. It's a whole thing. But yeah, and then she gets a call from her dead roommate's father, who is a police officer. And he's like, Kirby's the killer, get out of there. And then she realises they've been locked in. I had a theory that Kirby was going to be the killer, but every time this movie got predictable, it changed, like, completely. Turned on its head. I thought it was getting a bit predictable with Kirby. I was like, okay, so she is the killer. I had this theory for a while since I watched, like, the first trailer with her. Because, like, in the trailer it says, like, there's never been a killer like me. And that was almost technically true, but we'll get into it. So I thought that Kirby was the killer, and then two Ghostface pop up in the theatre, and they get beaten to fuck with, like, bricks and shit. And, like, fucking fire extinguishers, and they get brutally harmed. And then Chad gets stabbed up after kissing Tara. Don't mind a Tara Chad love story. I don't love it, but I don't mind it. So the girl has to trauma bond with someone, so... So her and her sister, like, run off as Chad's getting, like, brutalized. And then Kirby turns up completely black and blue, and it's just like, okay, so we haven't just beaten you up, have we? So it was like... And then the police officer, who was their roommate's dad, turns up. And he's like, oh, don't believe anything she says. And he shoots her. And then the two Ghostfaces pop up. And it turns out that... So the slutty roommate and Chad's roommate were Randy's brothers, Richie's brothers and sisters. And the copper is his dad. And they're doing all this because when he saw what Sam did to his son, he decided in that moment she should die because of how brutal the murders was. And throughout the movie, we've been getting, like, stories of people messaging Sam saying that, like, she framed Richie, blah 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 blah. And it turns out it was Richie's sister had created the rumour that it was all, like, Sam's fault and blah de blah. And I just love that Mandy predicted it, like, completely. Like, because she's the Randy stand-in, she has to predict the killer. And it was just like, oh my god. The reveal that it was a family, like, because obviously, so Scream 5 echoed Scream 1 very much. So obviously Scream 6 was going to echo Scream 2. They even make this assumption earlier on in the film that it could be a killer's parent. And they're just like, oh no, that would never happen. This is a requel sequel, so the rules have to change. And they fucking didn't. I absolutely love that it was, like, Richie's family. Because I don't like it when killers are unrelated. So, like, with Scream 4, we've all heard my rant on Scream 4. But Scream 4 was, in my opinion, completely terrible. Because Jill had no connection to any of the past killers. Where, like, granted, in Scream 5 they had no connection to the killers, but at least one of them lived in Stu's house. Like, they had a connection to Stu, kind of. And then with this killer family, they obviously have a relation to a past killer. Their plan is to like frame Sam for the murders, which, sure. But they have this like obsession with her getting into the Ghostface costume, getting into the mask, and then they're gonna kill her and then brutally kill her sister. And then frame it on Sam. Which, sure. So the dad starts hunting for the two sisters. And he gets a phone call, and I'm like, okay, this is happening. And somehow Sam, like, uses the Ghostface voice. I don't understand how she did it, but she did it. And she, like, has this whole speech of, like, it's not his movie, it's her movie, because obviously Scream characters know they're in a film. And she's like, you're not the fucking main character. This is my film, bitch. And like the whole like thing. And she just comes out of nowhere and fucking brutally murks him, stabs him through the eye, you know, or the forehead or something. And it's just it's just very hilarious. And she's like, she's not going. So I think she stabs him up a couple times, and he's still not falling down. And then her Tara pops up behind her, and she's like, I'm not anything like my dad, and I'm not anything like your son. So I'm gonna leave you to bleed out here, basically. And then Tara gives her a look like, are you fucking serious? And then she's like, but you messed with my family. Fucking murks him in the eye. I thought she was just going to slit his throat, but I think it was hilarious as well, because as the dad's saying how, like, strong and great his son was, and she's like, he's a little bitch who got a kid to do all the killings for him, and then, he, like a pussy, he cried while I slit his throat, which was hilarious. And he was just like, no, my son was an alpha male. It was hilarious. I just love the whole dynamic. Yeah, we find out that Chad's still alive, Mandy's still alive, Gail's still alive. The core four are still living. Sam and Tara are completely fine after being murked a bunch of times. Like, I don't know what it is about knives in Scream, but somehow they just do not kill people. It was a really good movie. It was left really open-ended as well, so there could be a Scream 7. I hope there is, because I think these two meet, like, if we're forgetting Scream 4, this group of characters needs, like, a trilogy. So, let's just, as I've said in the past, let's just erase Scream 4 from history. So Scream 5 is Scream 4, this was Scream 5. So Scream 6 was Scream 5. So we need a 6 movie for a trilogy, because I think trilogies are great. I don't think I've ever given a Scream movie above a 9. I think this is a 10 out of 10. This was a great movie. And as a standalone film, I think it stands up for itself as well. Like, it does just enough explaining so you don't actually have to watch the other 5 films. But it also leaves enough for you to think, oh, if I haven't seen this, I need to go watch them. And there's enough like callbacks and shout outs and references, and it's just great. The gore factor is an 11. So that's a thing. Like, I was surprised that it was an 18 plus. I don't think any Scream movie has been an 18 plus before. I could be wrong. I'm sure they're like 15s. Because they're not normally gory. Because, like, they're just not. But, like, Scream 5 and 6 have definitely been upping themselves. But yeah. So I think Scream 6 is a 10 out of 10. I don't think it could be any better. So I have really enjoyed doing all these movies. I might do a review for other franchises. It just depends. So I hope you liked that video, guys. Like, comment, subscribe if you did, and share it with your friends. Bye.